Hi everyone. Guess what? I'm here with Nathan. Let me introduce you to Nathan Glover. He's
Hey, Dirk. Thank you.
hey,
Hello.
it's so good to see you here. Actually, personally, it's good to see you here because I know Nathan
Mm.
from the Gold Coast many years past,
Mm.
and now you're up here. You've accepted a call to Emmanuel.
I have.
Only 6 weeks now. Still learning the where's North Street and South Street and.
Yeah, still figuring out Toowoomba and how it all works. But it's lovely to be here. And I just caught up with Dirk at a minister's gathering, and we thought, oh, I'll come back here and have a bit of a chat. So
Yeah,
lovely to meet you from afar. And
yeah.
thanks for having me.
Do you know, uh, being involved in ministry is an interesting thing about our path. Helping people, being involved in people's lives and ministry is very involving with just about every facet of life. And I just wonder whether, just for everybody, when you take a new call and you come into a new place, there's certain things that you leave behind, obviously, and you're coming into a new place, which means then what have you learned? And this is my question for you, maybe for everyone to share in. It's like, okay, what makes Nathan tick about what's one thing you've learned about ministry that you
Mm.
want to sort of say, hey, this is what I want to bring into this new chapter that's unfolding up here in Toowoomba for you?
I've learned that it's not about me. So there's a very famous book which many of you probably have read, which is The 40 Days of Purpose, written
Yep.
by Rick Warren. And the very first sentence, is not about you. And I think third time around now, this is my third placement or third calling, as a pastor, I've just learned that it's not about me. And I can sort of not be concerned about potential criticism or what people are going to think if I do this or do that. It's just really not about me. I think there's a lot of focus, at least in my church setting, the Lutheran church as a whole, just generally, and not just Lutheran churches, other churches too, a lot of focus on the minister and what he says and what he does, and they're waiting for the minister to come along and save them and help them, and he's going to set the direction and do everything for them. So it kind of sets them up to fail, and we put all our eggs in that minister basket when actually the church is not in the minister's basket, the church is in God's hands. And so just this time around, I think, that's something I've just learned over time, that it's just not about me. And I have an important role to play. We all have an important role to play in the church. I don't discount that, but I don't need to take things personally. I don't need to be concerned about what people think. I need to not fear man, but fear God and just pursue the things that God calls us to do.
Wow, that's good. I mean, that only comes sometimes with maturity because I know in my own case and many other pastors' cases, it's kind of like, just you fall into that Messiah complex. I'm here now. God has equipped me. I've got 7 years of training behind me.
Well,
I'm
the
ready.
system
Oh, and the
adds to this.
system and all this sort of stuff. And then to
Yeah.
actually realize that again and again, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. And you burn out and you come to that realization, hey, it's actually not about me at all. What would you say? What's been your path to say, finally, I'm getting it. I heard it, I read it, but now I'm starting to understand it in here. I'm going to live this way now. Obviously, there's something has changed for you.
Yeah, good question. One of it is just, this is something we are just chatting about before, actually, is something called professional supervision. So before, I did not engage with that. I didn't have anyone I could talk to, basically, to share different perspectives, to toss things around and to forward plan and to think things through. So now I do that all the time, and it's so valuable, and I find that so important. So basically, I was sort of out there on my own, which again is typical of the system. Which if you're out there on your own will spit you up and cheer you out. But if you have the right supports around you, I think you can sort of start to see the bigger picture and start to see that it's not about you. Yeah, so that's been one thing I think that's helped me. A bit of experience, I suppose, as well, a bit of life experience.
Do you know, Nathan, just as professionally speaking now, you've found that actually a really important help is to have someone else that you can speak to and who can speak into your life. I just wonder for everybody else, so often we do Christianity on our own.
Yeah.
And maybe, the whole point of, hey, it's not about me. I've got to have someone that I can talk to about it and get that bigger picture.
Absolutely.
Would you say that, if you're talking to everybody else now, you are in congregation and the aha moment is that we actually need one another. We need to have someone that you can trust and confide in. I mean, the thing is that, for me, what really kind of like helped me to recover from a bad situation, a burnout situation, where I sort of said, that's it for ministry, was actually Edgar. And talking to Edgar, kind of like, healed a lot of things and re-established and rebuilt it. You need to have someone. And is that sort of like the thing that you're finding, that not only is it aha moment, it's not about you, but to have someone to talk to actually builds the bigger picture? Is that what you're saying?
Oh, for sure. Like, if you think about cults and things like this, like one of the strategies that they do intentionally or unintentionally is to isolate people, and same with abusive relationships and things. In that place of isolation, when you're away from anyone that can help you, that's where danger lies. And that's where it's not good for you and it's not good for anybody.
So I think, just isolation, it's a good segue to sort of finish off. COVID often isolates everybody. But how important we've actually discovered that isolation is not a good place to be as a Christian or as a human being. There's a lot of damage that's being done in isolation. We need each other. So maybe today, just take the chance of ringing someone up and saying, hey, can we have a cup of coffee? I need to talk. And maybe build that friendship of one-on-one and say, would you be the person that speaks into my life? Can I speak into your life?
And perhaps an encouragement for you would be to not self-isolate. So sometimes we have problems with our relationships, personally, professionally, or whatever, and we self-retreat, and we self-isolate, and we say, because those bridges have been burned and because it hasn't worked out well for me, I'm going to take myself away.
Yeah.
And maybe that's okay for a time, but if we self-isolate such that we close ourselves off to all people, that's not the ideal, and actually does us damage. And much better to heal those relationships and let God heal those relationships and do it in a godly way rather than just retreating, because I don't think that's good for anybody.
I just as a finish off now, I like that part when the church began to grow and Jesus sends them out, or I can't remember now the real context, but they were starting to go out, and it was there's a text there, I think it's in Acts, where it talks about find the friend. The one who will open up the door. Maybe that's the sort of thing. Find a friend who will open up the door, and that's the way that things will become far more positive in your healing and in your discovery of who you are, and then discover, hey, it's actually not about me in my little world. There's so much more. So bless you guys with that. Find a friend today. Hey, I found a friend again. Nathan, good to see you up here.
Good to see you. Thanks for having me. Cheers.